Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. I'm joined today by Laura Anderson. She's our Deputy Incident Commander in Public Health. She's also the manager of our Health Protection Division, and she will provide our COVID-19 update. She also has Mark Jackson, our Deputy Director at our testing branch here as well, and he could also help answer any questions associated with testing. And after that, we also have Ling Becker, our Director of Workforce Solutions, who will also provide some comments and remarks as well.
Thank you, Director Tolzman. Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for having me today. I'm going to start by reviewing data across Minnesota. As of this morning, we have 75,864 individuals who have been diagnosed with COVID-19. The state reports 679 newly reported cases. Those numbers come in overnight. In terms of our deaths, across Minnesota, 1,866 individuals have passed away as a result of COVID-19. One newly reported death overnight. Currently hospitalized across the state, 306 individuals, and 131 individuals currently in intensive care. I was asked to speak a little bit about ICU capacity, not just across the metro, but across the state. Our partners in coalitions, regional coalitions across Minnesota, do track that information. Typically, ICU beds as well as psychiatric beds are quite limited in the metro over the weekend. So no surprise, again, this weekend, we see somewhat limited capacity for new patients. In terms of total persons tested, this is an approximate number, again, from our state partners. 1,128,123 individuals have been tested for COVID-19. I'd now like to draw your attention to the county data. Again, this is data provided through our open data portal, through our planning partners, as well as our communications folks here in Ramsey County. Here locally, we have diagnosed 9,242 individuals with COVID-19. Since March 6th, 1,097 of those individuals have been hospitalized. 328 have been hospitalized in the ICU. 308 individuals have died as a result of COVID-19. The majority of those deaths, as you have heard previously, have occurred in individuals who are 75 years of age or older, but we are seeing some deaths among younger individuals as well. This is not a trend at this point, it's just an observation. We're also seeing more deaths outside of long-term care facilities. Taking a look at the weekly case rate per 10,000, we have seen a slight decline since August 1st here. Our case rate stands at 8.6% per 10,000 residents. If you take a look at the weekly percent positive, again, you'll see a small decline. I wouldn't get too excited about that, but it's worth noting. 5.7% positivity as of August 15th. Once more, I want to draw your attention to diagnosed cases by race. This is self-reported data. It comes to us as a result of case interview. This is how folks are self-reporting race, ethnicity here in Ramsey County. The majority of our cases are occurring among Black, Brown, or otherwise people of color. 22% of all of our cases self-report as Black, 20% Asian, 15% Latino, Latina. Taking a look at age, again, this is not unusual to see. We've seen the same trending in other counties across Minnesota as well as other states in the United States. We are seeing an increasing portion of the cases among individuals 0 to 24. Fully a quarter of all of our cases are among those individuals. I will be watching that line closely as schools, colleges, universities continue to reopen. The majority of all our cases, 62%, are occurring among individuals 44 or younger. So I encourage my my colleagues to keep wearing those masks and practicing social distancing. Again, not a surprise if you think about folks who've been working since March in essential businesses. I'm going to go ahead and share a little bit from our testing clinics. This past weekend, we closed out our August testing round with some success. We hit a new record in terms of individuals tested both at Washington Tech and Aldrich Ice Arena. 1,331 individuals tested over 2 days. Across all August, keep in mind that we had 8 testing sites throughout August, 5,031 individuals tested. We're still waiting on the race ethnicity breakdown from last weekend, but I am aware, our positivity rates have ranged between 3% and about 5.4% of all those tested positive at those settings. I do have race and ethnicity breakdown for the prior 3 weeks, both at Washington and Aldrich. More than half of those tested, again, represent populations of color in Ramsey County. So I think we have kudos to our outreach team and their outstanding efforts alongside community partners like KOM and HAP for getting the word out. 40% of those tested self-reported as Asian, 5.5% Latino, Latina, and 8.5% Black. We did have about, I think, 10% unwilling to disclose race ethnicity, and we certainly wouldn't push people to share that information. That's what I have for you today. I am aware we're working very closely with our state partners, supporting colleges and universities as they reopen. We have seen a handful of clusters associated with those environments. So we will continue to support our state partners as they finish up those investigations. Any questions?
Thank you very much. I'll turn to county commissioners for questions. Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Laura, for that information. I heard somewhere that we were maybe going to continue some testing sites in September. Have we determined that? And could you tell us what we're doing in September for testing sites?
I can give you a little bit of a teaser. How's that sound?
Oh.
Madam Chair, Commissioner. So we will be restarting our clinics around September 14th. This time we'll be focusing more closely, working with our Latino-Latina populations as well as Black Americans to support folks in getting testing in low-barrier community settings, likely in St. Paul. We're still focused on the zip codes where we know we have higher case rates. So my sense is we'll be looking again at those communities, making sure that the sites we choose are close to public transit, but have appropriate spacing so that we can have a safe testing experience for our residents. So stay tuned. I know that Director Hedin will have more to share.
Okay, so for sure one more weekend, but perhaps more than one weekend. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're committed to continuing to work with our state partners as well as community organizations to provide additional testing to folks who need it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I'll call on Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do think it is important, obviously, that we continue these, because one thing that is clear also is that if you had a test once, it doesn't mean that you won't necessarily have to have a second test, depending on, your contact, what you have been doing and different things. So it's not a one and done, which is sometimes is kind of the way that usually when you have a test, and then you're done. So that's actually part of my question is the numbers that we have as far as the total number of tests given. Is that individuals or is that the number of tests given?
Locally,
And then I have a second question.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, locally that is indeed just a test. It doesn't necessarily, it's not specific to that person. Someone could come to a community testing site one weekend and yes, come back 2 weeks later, depending on their exposure, and receive an additional test. If you look at the state data, they have been able to delineate between tests provided and persons tested. So we'll continue to see that demarcation.
Well, and actually that's good if people are coming back, if they need to be tested again, that they are coming back. And then also reading in the paper very quickly this morning, I had heard that, and I'm not sure if this is in the paper or where I read it, but that we have now exceeded the national average for infections, and also the fact that we are, more concerned obviously about the rural sections of our state and needing to take this more seriously and put the masks on. And, but what are we looking at? Why do we think that there's going to be a surge, and when do we think it's going to be?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, if I had $1 for every time that question was asked, no. What I can tell you is I'm not excited about the fall. I think that as we see our communities start to move indoors, we're going to see increased transmission here in Minnesota. I know that the trend line that we're seeing associated with rural communities in part has to do with manufacturing industries. It also has to do with perhaps just a little bit of complacency around masking and social distancing. So I think we all need to do our part. I know we had a visit from Dr. Burke's federal partners this past weekend, and my understanding is that she again shared her recommendations around social distancing and continuing to sustain our efforts around masking, testing, as well as contact tracing. We can't afford to let our guard down on any of those efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to appreciate the update, but also recognize there may be additional information coming forward. Director Tolzman is in the chamber, and I will go to Director Tolzman.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, we also have Director Ling Becker from Workforce Solutions, and she's making her way up to provide an update and some comments.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Madam Chair. I have some show and tell lead in today, so it's really good to be back here with you this morning to share with you an update about the CARES workforce efforts. As you may recall from the Economic Growth and Community Investment Workshop a few weeks back, we've been extremely busy but urgently deploying services and contracts in order to mitigate employment impacts on residents who've been impacted by COVID-19. I want to thank the many departments and staff who have helped us deploy dollars and resources to the community at an extremely rapid pace. This is a collective effort of the county and has required many people and departments to work alongside us to be responsive. In particular, I want to thank the procurement department for they have done a lot of work alongside of us. We've also been closely working with the Racial Equity and Community Engagement Response Team, the Compliance and Oversight Team, the IMT Back Office, Communications, and IS. I'm happy to tell you today that Workforce Solutions has been able to deploy about $11 million of the funding to this point. That's how much we've been obligated. As you're aware, a few weeks ago, we launched 7 career labs throughout Ramsey County, both at Ramsey County sites and St. Paul Library sites. In addition, we're funding 2 additional community-based locations. One is actually at near Lexington and Selby at the 8218 Truth Center. And the other is, we haven't finalized the contract, but is on the Maplewood and Oakdale border. And they're currently serving 1,000 families with food resources a week at that location. And they reached out and we've had a conversation about providing workforce services there. And all services at that location will be provided in Spanish and Hmong to the community there. So that location will be serving the community 30 hours a week. In addition, we've launched our Tech Pack initiative, which actually today is one of the days that residents can go and apply for one of those. You can go to RamseyCounty.us/TechPack, TECHPACK. So hopefully we can put that up for you. Tech Packs are an initiative that allow people to get a refurbished laptop, a hotspot, and a digital literacy navigator. So I actually have a Tech Pack here to be able to show you. So folks that are selected to get a Tech Pack basically get a laptop case, and inside there they will get a hotspot, headphones. They also get, obviously, the laptop itself, which is refurbished by our partners at TechDome. Taking a lot of stuff here. Hopefully I won't mess anything up. And then we also have a lot of information. There is a quick start guide, all based on photographs on how to plug the thing in, how to load your, how to get the hotspot going. There's a variety of COVID resources for the county here, how to get food resources, how to get public health resources. And then there's a quick start guides around several different languages as to how to get started with the digital navigator. So I wanted to be able to show that to you. Folks can apply through tomorrow at the end of the day online. It's opened every month through the December, and you can go on that website to find out more information. In addition, they can also call 651-266-6002 if they don't have access to technology and would like to put their name into the lottery. In addition to the Tech Pack and the Career Labs, we've also purchased 7 emergency purchases, and I'm happy to talk about that if you have interest in that. A lot of that is around marketing and other services that we've had, including the Tech Packs and our contract with Minnesota Literacy. And then the vast majority of our CARES funding has really gone to the community directly. The best way to mitigate the impacts of COVID-19 is to work in partnership with the organizations that are most deeply connected with those populations that are continuing to experience disparate outcomes due to the pandemic. We released a total of 6 requests for informal quotes. Our first request was released the same week of George Floyd's murder, and the community stepped up tremendously around the urgency of this work, even during a very challenging time in our community. We received a total of 123 quotes between those 6 solicitations. So you can imagine the timeline from releasing those quotes, which really were early June timeframe. People had to have time to kind of send those back to us. We gave them about 10 days. We reviewed those, and in total, all the contracts have been executed except 5, which we hope to wrap up this week. But I'm happy to tell you that we've executed 90 agreements with different community organizations in that timeframe. In addition, so that brings us to a total of 94 contracts in addition to the JPA that we did with the city of St. Paul. The smallest award was for $66,895 for a manufacturing training program for young adults at St. Paul College. The largest award is for $425,000 to Ujamaa Place. The average award is $88,744. We have funded programs that support youth, young adults, and our adult population with projects that are focused specifically on those populations that have been impacted, including Black men, those who've had criminal backgrounds, homeless youth, and more. So I'd like to briefly just highlight for you a few innovative projects. I don't have time to go through all 90, but I will be sharing that information with you. Many of you are familiar with Face to Face. They're a great organization working with young people. The organization is going to be providing 2 cohorts for COVID-impacted youth, ages 18 to 24, who have barriers to employment, with short-term paid internships, either at Face to Face or other community partners, doing youth-focused media, and also being trained as peer health specialists. The Man Up Club will provide regular mentorship and programming twice a week, over 10 weeks for COVID-impacted young Black men, ages 18 to 24. They will provide peer group mentoring, designed for young Black men who are then mentored by adult Black men. The YMCA, they're going to be providing a 4-week employment program for youth called Enough. The program will serve COVID-impacted young adults in Ramsey County who are at risk and have experienced trauma and violence and other barriers to achieving equitable employment. They will have a 4-week employment program with one of the Y branches after their training for 100 hours. Ujamaa Place. Ujamaa will be creating and delivering virtual programming. They've had to adjust their communication tools. They needed IT to support these changes, and also will be working to address the mental pain of African American male participants while they're working on job search and job training. The International Institute, located off of Como Avenue, will be offering training programs for new Americans in careers, in healthcare careers, such as registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, nursing assistants, and dietary aides. Funding will help support the job training as well as the virtualization to learning platforms. Vietnamese social services. Funding will be used to adapt a face-to-face model to an online model. They will be working on job skills training, adult basic ed, and counseling and other essential services. So as a part of our contracting, we also did something very unique and different. We created a learning cohort with a segment of the contractors. It's called the Community Innovation Inclusion Fund. It's done in partnership with our partners at the Center for Economic Inclusion. I have a whole list of the vendors that are a part of that fund, and if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind just reading to you that list because I think it helps you see where this money is going. African Economic Development Solutions, CLUES, ALPIS, INSARUN, JL Griffey's, the Network for the Development of Children of African Descent, Restoration for All, the Somali American Parent Association, the Somali American Women Action Center, the Southeast Asian Diaspora Project, the Anika Foundation, the Cultural Wellness Center, Transcend IT, Twin Cities Rise, Upturnships, and Vietnamese Social Services. And so that group in particular has a unique opportunity that they're going to meet 6 times as a cohort and do collaborative community learning together. They're sharing ideas, they're talking about what's working, what's not, how they're mitigating COVID challenges. They're going to be hearing from speakers, and they're building a community network and will be able to help us to provide us evaluation feedback as a group. There have been a lot of rewarding moments since this whole effort began in mid-May, but I will have to say the top of it was at the end of this first cohort convening, someone on the call said, "We all feel so isolated and alone in doing this work, and now we have brothers and sisters to support us." So today, you will be receiving a memo from me later today outlining all the organizations and a short summary of their proposals. In addition, we'll be updating our Ramsey County Rise website to ensure accountability and transparency to the community about the organizations that we've been funding. Back in May, when the overall scope of CARES funded work was rolled out, we discussed the need for to be ongoingly responsive and pivot how we would need. And after getting this first round of funding to the door, we still feel an urgency to do some more work. And so getting more technology out to residents is still a high priority for me, and I hope we can continue to pivot to that. In addition, today I believe we are trying to release a new request for informal quotes, and it is going to target chambers, economic development organizations, incubators, and accelerators to provide internships to COVID-19 impacted new graduates in Ramsey County. In addition, we all know that distance learning is posing a significant challenge on our Ramsey County families. We see it on our MFIP families. We see it, obviously in families that beyond that. I've started some conversations with AmeriCorps, Math Corps, Reading Corps, as well as talking to our school districts about how we might be able to employ COVID-impacted residents to serve as tutors possibly in some of these spaces. And so that work is not done. But it's an area that we would really like to pivot to. It would get employment out to some folks as well as supporting families. And then finally, I just want to thank you for your commitment of keeping the community at the center of this work. Commissioner McDonough and I had the privilege of presenting a brief outline of some of our work here in the workforce space a few weeks back to NACO. And it was really clear to both of us that we are creating pretty innovative models, and the funding is reaching organizations that are more transformative than the short term, kind of the traditional folks that would get some of these dollars. And so it was really clear when we walked away from that call, I think we both felt really good about that work that we're doing and the commitment of the values being lived out here. And it makes me really proud to help lead this work. So I'm happy to take any questions. Hope the update is helpful as to where we're at.
Thank you. We are so happy to hear the update and the very many things that you are doing together with our community to help recover and build forward from COVID-19. I have a number of commissioners who have their hands raised. I'll start with Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I think that the relationship building that's going on with the CARES Fund funding is absolutely phenomenal because, you know, when you're busy doing your work in your own area, you don't necessarily have the time to reach out to the brothers and sisters in other organizations that Lynn was referring to as far as really making that a cohort that is much larger than would have been otherwise. It's not just about being in person, it's about the organizations that are now connected that weren't as connected, at least before, is really what it comes down to. So I think that that relationship building is transformative because it's going to go well beyond what we are going through right now, because people can see just how much synergy there is in making those connections. So I think it's absolutely fabulous, and I can see where that would be fun to have made that presentation. I do have a question on the tech packs. Now that is, how many are there? Is it something that we're going to do more than once? And those are not loaned out. Those are, they're in a lottery and it belongs to that person once they get it. So I would suspect that we will have a fair, you know, it'll be a lot of people that will be applying for those, at least I hope so. So if you could tell me a little bit more about that program and how many we expect to get out and kind of the duration of this.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Reinhardt, yes, we have a total of 500. We did do a soft launch last month of actually 50, just connecting with our trusted messengers, our correctional officers, the Suburban Ramsey Family Collaborative, and then our Ramsey County Workforce Innovation Board. So we kind of kept the marketing a little tighter, just trying to see, we wanted to work out a lot of the kinks, make sure that we were knew what we were doing here. And it worked out really well. All of those 50 are out at the libraries being distributed. They're distributed over a series of a few weeks during the month so that it doesn't, not everyone's trying to pick them up at the same time. There's several locations. People can indicate where they would like to pick them up. There's also limited mobility pickup. So we will also get that to you, even if you can't get to the library. Then the digital literacy navigator calls you and gives you the password, and then the laptop's actually loaded with workforce resources and sites, and then you're expected to do your digital literacy classes. In terms of the distribution, on the web page, it explains the different cycles. We're giving them away basically every month. There's a 3-week window or 3-day window, I apologize, a 3-day window every month that people can apply. I just got some great feedback from Dr. Maimua from Hmong American Partnership. She asked if we could just, yesterday she emailed me and asked if people could just get re-entered who didn't get one, and because they already have digital literacy challenges. And again, that was really helpful, right? Because we've never done this before. And so, you know, we worked with her, and we're gonna try to be really responsive to that request. So we're gonna give them out throughout the month. Our one challenge is the CARES funding expires at the end of December. And so we're trying to give out kind of the bulk of them, probably no later than the end of November, so that people can have some time with their digital literacy navigator. Now, there is a whole system of digital literacy supports through Minnesota Literacy beyond what we're doing, and so we just need to do a good job transitioning people, and we're already thinking about that. So, and the really, you know, I think one great part of the story is, those of you who've been aware of Tech Dump, is we're employing Ramsey County residents who've been impacted with our correctional system doing this work, getting these laptops ready. So it's actually been a very rewarding process with all the organizations, and the libraries and the librarians and everyone, have been so supportive, everyone giving feedback on how to make things better. And so this round, so it's open till tomorrow at the end of the day on the website, or they can call, and we have 150 to give out for this month.
And are we still asking for people to donate? I know that I saw
Yes.
a couple of things come before me that said, okay, if you have a PC that you want to donate. So this is still ongoing work, right?
Yes, anyone can go and donate laptops, and when we've been encouraging businesses to actually do that, they'll come and pick up, and they do a full clean. You don't have to worry about any of the data that's on your computer. Really, computers, as we look into 2021, even 2022, as we look at employment outcomes, they should be our new mask donation. I mean, it is the thing that's going to divide people of the haves and have-nots in our community. And so having regular places where people can drop off computers, reasonably should be a conversation that, we're supporting and working with community partners. I know we've been talking to the Midway Chamber about banks being drop-offs. This is a thing that the community can really get behind, and our residents really need it. So in addition, in a lot of these contracts, computers were provided to residents as well. And then in addition, our existing programs do provide some technology if people are enrolled in training. So it's not the only way, but this is to kind of try a model around true support around digital literacy to see if people can get some more support who really, literally that guide, it's a picture to show you where to plug in the cords, it's assuming a very baseline knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How phenomenal. Commissioner Maez-Castillo.
Yeah, you said the words right there, Madam Chair, with phenomenal. I'm just so impressed once again, Ling, with you and your team and your innovation and real commitment to racial equity in this area. You're right, technology is an area that we're seeing as a barrier for lots of folks. A school is starting and kids are going to be remote learning again. There's been some serious technology barriers, and so being able to work alongside with adults that might have those same technology barriers, whether it's to access for jobs, but also for our services. We've moved to an online platform. If you don't have that technology, it's hard to access all the services we have. So I really appreciate all the work and commitment there, and it really is a holistic approach across our service team. So appreciate that. I'm wondering about the hotspots. We've heard a lot about hotspots and that they have a limited amount of data per month or usage. And so, one member of a family streams a video or a how-to or YouTube, and suddenly they've run out of data. Are we working through any of that with either Comcast and the low-income access or any of those kind of technology resources?
Yeah, this is directly, so TechDump curated the hotspots for us. And so I believe these are unlimited hotspots that are being built throughout, So,
okay, excellent. Great.
Really
thank you very much. And thanks again for your great work. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, I do want to say, I think we are really thinking about racial equity, but I also want to bring up, I was on a call, and I think Commissioner McGuire, I don't know if you were on with Roseville, but, we have some aging populations too that have this need, and a lot of folks need to be able to access work resources too in order to, they have to pivot. And so it really transcends a lot of different factors in our community besides even race, age, and even gender. Like when we look at tech skills, pretty much what we're going to see is that the jobs that are the most high growth, that are going to pay the most wages, and they're going to have the most resiliency around pandemic are going to be jobs that require technology and technical, and digital literacy.
Thank you. Commissioner McGuire.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, Director Becker, I was on the call for Roseville Business Council, and you did an amazing job, as always, highlighting just all the great work that you're doing and helping our businesses and our communities learn what we are doing and how they can help. So thank you for that amazing presentation you did at the Roseville Business Council, and for all of your work. I'm just going to add my gratitude to all of my colleagues for just this amazing, phenomenal work you're doing. I do just have a couple of extra questions. My colleagues have asked a couple of them, but So just curious, how many applications are you getting? You said you're going to be having a lottery for 150. About how many applications will you get into for that lottery? And is there a means test, or can anyone? I mean, people have to apply. So are there criteria for being a part of the lottery, or can anyone do that? Just curious.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner McGuire, great questions. So we ran the little test pilot in August. We have 50 units, and really with very limited distribution of the message. We had 168 applicants just through that channel alone to distribute the 50. We did some demographics. 50% of the applicants of that first round were Black. I think at least 65% came from the zip code on the east side that has the highest unemployment insurance, so we were pretty happy to have hit that. And so, we really don't know. I mean, I think the actual demand for this type of thing is pretty strong, and we'll probably never be able to meet the need. I think the other thing that we need to be doing is to provide resources on where else people can get these resources besides here, right? I've gotten a lot of emails around schools are providing some connections to get Chromebooks. I mean, we're not the only ones trying to provide folks with some technology. Maybe there needs to be kind of a clearinghouse of information as to where you might go, and you should go find the place of best fit, right? Ours are really geared toward people who want to do job search. And that's what we're funding, is to really kind of partner with you around trying to get your skills so that you can start a training program. And that goes back to Commissioner Reinhardt's question around, yes, people get to keep these. And I've had several people ask me about that. Like, why don't we just loan them out? Well, there's many complications with people's data and stuff like on those computers. But besides that, as soon as somebody completes 3 trainings in digital literacy, now they're ready to go do EMS online. They're ready to do their CNA class online. They're ready to enroll in school. I mean, getting the computer is just your first step. And Amanda Lagrange, who's the CEO of Tech Dump, I think if she was here, she would just say, if you ever gave somebody technology, how would you ever want to take it away? I mean, it is like opening someone's door to access to so many things. And so we just decided that this is the kind of a base necessity people need in order to move forward after COVID. So. And then in terms of how do we do the matching of folks in the lottery, it is a fairly complicated system. I believe Tech Dump has wrote a little program about how to do this. We decided to have them do it as a third party. But it is weighted based on how other people in your household needing to use equipment, whether you have it, do you have one, do you have access to Wi-Fi. It's taking in all the account of whether you already have access to something versus nothing. Those will be weighted more heavily. I can say that everyone who puts their name in does get at least one chance in the lottery, because I feel like that's the definition of a lottery, is we don't want to exclude anyone from the opportunity to get one. But we certainly, they agree to certain things as a part of filling out the application, that they're COVID impacted, that they've, means they've lost their job or had a reduction in hours, and, so I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, that is great. I really appreciate that. So just a couple of other questions. So once they get the computers, and that it is great, and I agree that you don't want to take them away then, and I appreciate you explaining all those reasons. Do we provide an ongoing help? Is that what Workforce Solutions then, because once you got the computer, there's going to be a lot of questions that come up. So then there's always ongoing help that's provided as well.
Yeah, so Madam Chair, Commissioner, so on here, there's a little luggage tag, and it says for hardware and laptop support, call this number. So if they have computer issues, they're actually calling Tech Dump. If they need hotspot support, there's a phone number. And then their digital literacy navigator is an individual that's actually assigned to them. And they actually can't log into the computer until they've connected with that person. And so I'm hopeful that maybe in a few weeks I'll be bringing in a few success stories of folks. I know a lot of people have been really grateful. We've been getting lots of emails of, this is going to change the trajectory of what my next few months is going to look like, right? And I think that's what I've decided that it has to be our focus with these CARES dollars. They're not here for a long term, but even in a short term mitigation, we can actually pivot quite a bit for someone's life during this time, and that's what we're trying to do. So.
Well, I really appreciate that. And just, Madam Chair, just a couple more. Where can people drop off computers if they have? I know there's different banks, as you said. Is there a list, or should they just go online and find a list of where they can drop off computers if they have them that they want to donate to this effort?
Yeah, I would suggest they contact Tech Dump. I think on our the Tech Pack webpage, there's a link to the information about how to drop off computers. So.
Okay, because that would be a great thing. People are looking for things to do, and if you have computers, that would be great. So then my last question is regarding the computers that are available at our service centers, and how is that going with waiting lists? Or do we have a lot of waiting lists, or people are able to sign up for a time, I don't think the wait is too long if they sign up. I mean, they're not signing up for a month from now. They're able to get in pretty quick. I wanted to get a sense of that, because I want to encourage people to visit our libraries and the computers there. All of our service centers, I should say, our service centers.
Madam Chair, Commissioner McGuire, thank you for the question. We've just been working with communications. So on one end of that is we're working with our trusted messenger system and really wanting to get the word out. That's one part of it, right? Lots of things were closed for a long time. So being able to share that information, as I have worked with my other workforce directors in the state, I mean, we by far have more access to workforce computers, or even computers in general, than any place in the state. I mean, there are so many places that are not even open, and I think that just really shows the hard work that people have done, but really the collaborativeness of the public health department, property management. I mean, I think being able to do that in a really safe way, but not be afraid to do it, I think is really helping us ensure we get those resources. Yesterday, I was actually at Sunray Library, lots of people copying, lots of people using computers. The one thing that we're gonna be responding to right away is people want more time. We originally had done 60-minute sessions. Now you can imagine, as soon as you get started on something, then the buzzer goes off, and it's pretty frustrating, right? You've gotten yourself all the way there. I think our next set of calibration now in the next week or two is increasing that to 90 minutes. We've been working with our public health department to make sure that's okay with the space that we have, obviously, because we want to stay, in tune with all that. And so it looks like that's going to happen. We've now, on the Ramsey County side, people can reserve the spots both online and via phone, which is really helpful. And then again, we're adding some community locations really embedded in the community, serving folks that are already coming in and out of those spaces. And so, I think we've wanted to get our service information out to more people, and rather than creating new places to try to connect, I think we need to go to where people are getting food and getting other resources, because they're congregating in some spots. We don't need to create a new place to meet people. We just need to meet them where they're at. So.
Well, you're amazing for thinking about all those creative ways to reach our people, and I just really appreciate it. Thank you for everything. Really great work.
Yeah, one last thought I'll mention is we've been talking to the schools about putting something in all the school lunches that get sent home at least once throughout the process, or twice. So that's going to be another spot where we'll be trying to get our services out to the community. Both Carissa who's working with food. I think we're trying to collaborate, right? We don't need to send a workforce flyer and a food flyer. I mean, we can do a Ramsey County informational update to those families. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Director Becker, for this update and for the creative work that has been done by your team in connection with our community to make certain we're looking at the areas of gaps, that we're using community and connecting and partnering on meeting those gaps, and also in particular, that you're creating learning opportunities for all of us and connecting organizations together and with the Center for Economic Inclusion, so that we can, from this point, not only address through December with these CARES dollars the needs that we see today, but so that we can build for the future and understand how the work changing today reflects on the changing work that we need to do. I so appreciate the work. I know all board members, as you have already heard, admire the work that you're doing. We know it's not enough, to just do this work during this COVID-19 response period. But we are so appreciating the model that you have set for our future. And so with that, if you have no further comments, I'll go back to Director in our chambers managing the meeting with us, Director Elizabeth Tolzman.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. And if I could just make a comment, really the presentation by Director Becker really models three of our 5 core values, leadership and how Workforce Solutions has really changed and adapted their service delivery to meet our community needs. Our core values of community, working directly with our local organizations, businesses, community to ensure that people have technology and access to it. And by the way, that backpack looks super cool in person. Then obviously our last value of equity. This is really about bridging the tech equity gap. From the tech pack to the tech dump, just ensuring that we're transforming our structures, systems, and policies to improve outcomes for all. So with that said, if commissioners don't have any further questions for Director Becker or Ms. Anderson or Mr. Jackson, who is here on standby, that does conclude our COVID update for this morning.
Thank you very much. So, commissioners, we have a large number of items before us, including a workshop that we will have during the session on information and public records. Before we go to that work, let's pause for a moment. We are continually impacted by COVID-19 and the circumstances of economic concern, health concern, justice concerns that continue to confront us. We are impacted in our families, in our communities, and in our workplace. Let's take a few moments to consider, to reflect, and to hope.